So I hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes,
So
Jackie.
yeah. So guys, welcome to Surat MuleSoft Meetup 33rd. And topic for today's meetup is unleash the power of Anypoint MQ and DLQ. So Abhishek Batwal is the speaker for today's meetup, and he will deep dive into a various concept of Anypoint MQ and DLQ. So basically he will going to explain you what is Anypoint MQ, how to use dead letter queue, what are the different patterns we can use with the Anypoint MQ basically. Okay. So organizer myself, Jitendra Bafna, and I am a senior solution architect 3 working at the EPM system. And I am the MuleSoft certified integration architect and the platform architect. And I'm also a MuleSoft ambassador. And I'm leading various meetup group, which include Nasik, Surat, and engineering student meetup group. And my expertise is in working, setting up the MuleSoft platforms like runtime fabric manager, EKS setups, or like a clustering kind of environment. And also I have a good knowledge and I have a working knowledge on various enterprise integration pattern, and also like work with various projects basically. Yeah. So that's a small introduction about me. And it is, would you like to go next?
Sure, Jackie. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Nitish Jain. I'm working as application developer at Accenture in Bangalore. I'm having all mules, like I'm MCIA and MCPA certified, and it's like more than 3.5 years in MuleSoft. So, welcome to Meetup. Thank you.
Thanks, Nitish. I've already given I will come to Abhishek to you. Okay, before let me we have some safe harbor statement. So basically, both speaker and host are organizing this meetup in individual capacity only. We are not representing our companies here. Basically, this presentation is strictly for the learning purpose only. Organizer or presenter do not hold any responsibility that so same solution will work for your business requirement. The presentation is not meant for any promotional activities. There are some housekeeping activities. The recording of this meetup will be uploaded to event page within 24 hours, and question can be submitted, asked at any time in the chat or question and answer step. Make the session more interactive. You can ask the question at any time, and even you can like wait till end also. It depend on you basically. When you want to ask the question, you can definitely, you can use the chat box, chat window. Even you can on your mic and you can talk, you can ask the questions directly. You can at the end, like, we are not getting many feedbacks, so I will just motivate everyone to at least provide the feedback, whatever feedback you, if you feel the session is good, if you feel session is bad, no, whatever feedback you can provide, that it's very important for us to improve for the future meetups. Okay. So yeah, agenda. So I will give the session, I will hand over the session to Abhishek Batwal. So Abhishek, can you take the session from here? I will just stop sharing my screen.
Sure, Jackie. Thank you so much. So, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, first of all, thank you, Jackie and Nitish, for giving me this opportunity, and welcome everyone for Surat Meetup. So, my name is Abhishek. I'm working as an associate solution architect in Apicero, overall of 6+ years of experience and 4+ in MuleSoft. I'm a MuleSoft mentor, certified developer and architect, and I lead Guwahati and Lucknow Meetup group and speaker to various meetups. So, today, as we know, we are going to discuss on Anypoint MQ and DLQ. So agenda for our meetup for today is like we'll discuss about Anypoint, little bit about Anypoint, what are the different queues type we get, what are the connector types we have, how to configure Anypoint MQ, then what are the different error types we can get for Anypoint. Then we'll discuss about circuit breaker, and at last we'll discuss about DLQ. So heading forward, so just like I will request everyone, please feel free to share your knowledge as well. Like if you want to share something, if I'm missing something and you want to share, please feel free to share that and put out your question, whatever questions you have. So first, going with the Anypoint MQ, little bit about Anypoint MQ. So anyone want to share what they understand about Anypoint MQ? Although we have points over here, but anyone want to feel free and share their views on Anypoint MQ, what they understand?
It's like a messaging platform.
Yeah.
Mm,
Anyone more?
yeah, actually, basically, queue is a temporary place to
Mhm.
store our messages like that. So, AnyPoint MQ is used to make inter-app communications. So, for
Mhm.
that, the queue MQ is used. Yeah.
Okay. So
MQ
so
stands for message queue.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you can also see in the screen, like so Anypoint MQ basically is a cloud messaging service platform which is async in nature. It provides us pubs up functionality. It is available in Anypoint platform. It is easy to handle. We have dead letter queue optionality in this. Okay, so these all are the aspects what we get from Anypoint MQ. Okay, but with Anypoint MQ, basically, if we talk, like, it is not available in the trial account. You
Mm.
need to have a separate enterprise subscription for this, and the maximum payload size what we can have in Anypoint MQ is 10 MB. Okay, apart from that, like, it provide us three functionality with like CSV or JSON or text file. If if we send any other message apart from that, then it automatically get converted into string and the payload size get increased. Okay, so this is a little bit about Anypoint MQ. Now about the configuration, like how do we configure that in our Anypoint Studio. Okay, so first I will go through the PPT and then I will demo it and I will show you one by one everything. So going with the queue types, we have three different queue types: exchange, FIFO, and the standard queue. Exchange is like where we can broadcast message to different queues. Like, it is like one to many subscription where one exchange can be banded to several standard or FIFO queues. And if we send a message to exchange, the same message will traverse throughout the different queues which are banded to that one. FIFO, it store the message in a sequence. Like, if I'm sending a message in a particular sequence, it will store the message in that particular sequence. And the standard queue is like just a normal queue where it just store the message in any sequence, whatever it want. Okay. Next, different connection types. Like in the studio, what are the different connectors option you can get is subscriber, publish, consumer, ACK and NAC. Okay, so once we'll go to the studio, I will describe you the activities what we have with all this. But to give a small note, like, subscriber is like the source or the listener. Okay, like if we have store a message in a queue and we want to get that message to our flow, we use subscriber like as a listener, so it automatically trigger the flow. Okay, it's it's a like event source. It's uh, trigger your flow with the message what is there in the queue. Publish connector is to publish the message in the queue, like to send the message in the queue, so that if that queue is used as a subscriber or consumer to some other flow, that can be used over there. Consume one, this is like, it is also used to fetch the message from the queue, but it is not a source. It is used in the process part. Like, you need to trigger the flow where the consumer is there, and then you can have the message from that. And ACK and NAC is to provide an acknowledgement to the queue whether the message has been flowed successfully or it's a failure, so that either the message can be removed from the queue or it will go in the in-flight mode so that it can be republished or reprocessed. Next, how?
Let
Yeah.
ask Abhishek few questions here. So
Okay.
basically, not to you. Like, I will ask few questions basically. So,
Sure.
like, have you heard, like, everybody, like, anybody have heard about the term called multi-tenant basically?
Yeah.
So basically, we call Anypoint MQ as a multi-tenant platform. So why we call this Anypoint MQ as a multi-tenant platform?
So basically, say for example, if since it is a managed service, MuleSoft have many clients, right? Like I'm just giving you an example,
Mm-hmm.
like BofA, Merrill Lynch, NAB. These are the different banks
Mm-hmm.
who use this MQ services. So there are different clients who are using the same MQ infrastructure. So that is why we say it's a multi-tenant service because
Correct.
it's been shared by many clients across the globe. In fact,
Then, like, Nikunj, like, there can be a security issue. Like, if everybody is sharing the same space, right? There can be security issues, like, So, like, how this thing has been taken care in multi-tenant platform, basically.
Yeah, so it depends upon the contract that we sign with the MuleSoft, right? Say, for example, if the security is a concern for the banks, then what they normally do is they ask the MuleSoft to have the different hardware, but still will be managed by the MuleSoft.
Okay.
It won't be shared.
Okay. See what happened. Even the multiple client is sharing the same space, but data will be separate out. It will be not shared between the multiple client, right? The data will be isolated basically, right? So it is secure. It's completely secure. Even you are sharing the infrastructure, but your data will be not shared across the multiple client, because you will get your own space within that infrastructure. The other client will get his own space within that infrastructure, right? So that is how the security has been taken care. So I will give one simple example. So let's consider like you have a bare metal server basically, and bare metal server have a high computing resources like RAM and like storage, and everything is very high computing, but what happens, like if you see in cloud, we create a VMs basically, right? On the top of bare metal server, we have a hypervisor. On the top of hypervisor, we create the small VM, right? That VM share the same bare metal server, right? But that VM can be allocated to any of the client basically, right? So any of the client, like if you have a like one bare metal server, on the top of bare metal server you have a hypervisor. On the top of hypervisor you have a multiple 10 servers basically, right? So like two servers may be allocated to one client, two VMs can be allocated to one client, two VMs can be allocated to one client. So basically they are sharing your bare metal server, but it doesn't mean your data will be shared between the VMs basically. It can be it is not shared basically, it's completely a secure service. Then that's a one example. Like, but there is a concept of, as Nikun said, like you can have a dedicated host, you can have a dedicated instance also. So yeah, so you, in multi-tenant platform also, like you can have your own dedicated instance. Like in MuleSoft we have something called VPC, right? Virtual Private Cloud. So where you can have your own space, right? So that is how that is what a multi-tenant means. The second question: what is difference between topic and queue basically? Anyone?
Topic,
Yeah,
if we want to send messages to multiple consumers.
Okay. Yeah. So mostly
yeah. Topic is to fan out the messages, So if you are broadcasting a message, so you may have one publisher which is broadcasting the message, but it needs to go to multiple consumers or multiple subscribers. Then we use topic and publish the message to topic, and then the same message will be routed to multiple subscribers.
right. So topic is basically a subscribe model where like you can have a multiple publisher, and it can be message can be subscriber by a message can be subscribed by multiple subscriber or consumer basically, right? Whereas queue work on the point to point base basically. One message will be published to queue, and others consumer will pick the message from queue. But I have one question on queue. So let's consider I have a queue, and somebody has somebody has published the message to the queue basically, but I have a multiple consumer and listening to the same queue. In that case, what will happen? The message will route to everyone, or message will route to only one consumer, or to the first consumer who have connected first, or like in round robin fashion, it will only it will make sure it get routed to only one consumer.
Yeah, only one consumer, whoever picks up the first.
So it will be routed to in round robin. If the queue is non-exclusive, right? In that case, the message will routed to like one of the any consumer in round robin fashion. In case of exclusive queue, I think the consumer which connected first, right? The message will routed to that.
Yep.
Yeah. I think this clears the doubt, right? So basically, what is multi-tenant and what is queue, what is topic, correct? Yeah. Yeah. Abhishek, you can take it from here, basically.
Jitendra, sorry, I have Annapurna here. I have one
Yeah.
question.
Hmm.
Like we have a topic and we have queues. Suppose a message has to be sent to both a topic as well as a queue at the same time. We have a concept called as bridge, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But I don't think
something.
we have it here in any point
That is
MQ.
what my question was.
Yeah.
Do we have something like that
No,
in
no, no.
any point MQ?
No, we don't have it.
Okay.
Yeah, Abhishek, you can go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Jackie, for bringing that up. Okay. So regarding configurations, so these are the things we require, like URL, client API ID, and client secret. And I will show you when we'll go to the demo part. Then these are the few error types which I brought up, like from all the connectors which we have throughout for AnyPoint MQ. These are few error types which we can get. Now, circuit breaker. So what circuit breaker do is like, now suppose if your subscriber is publishing messages to the flow and there is some error which is coming again and again. Now suppose it is trying to send the message to a HTTP requester, and again you are getting an error from that HTTP requester as HTTP connectivity error. Then in that case, what the circuit breaker do is the circuit breaker will stop the flowing of message for some particular period of time, like the threshold which we have defined, so that until unless that particular error is rectified, it will not send the message. Okay, and it has got three stages: closed, half open, and open. And closed means the normal retrieval of the message from the subscriber, where the circuit breaker is closed, it is not in functionality. Open is when we are getting an error and the circuit breaker stops the flow of the message to the flow. Half open is like it will send one message to the flow once and check whether the error has been rectified or not. If not, then again it will go on open state. Now this is the configuration for the circuit breaker, where we need to define the error threshold, trip timeout, and we can define a particular error type for which we want the circuit breaker to be open. And at last, we'll discuss on the DL queue. So dead letter queue works like, now suppose you are sending a message to the flow and the message is getting failed again and again. So you can provide the DLQ functionality to the queue so that the failed message can be stored in the DLQ so that we can process it later. Okay. Few tips for DLQ, like if you're creating a standard parent queue, then the DLQ should be also be standard. If you're creating a FIFO, then it should be FIFO. Then it should be in the same geographical region. The region should be same and in the same environment. Okay. So now let us directly move to the demo, and it will make it more clear, like how the MQs work, how the circuit breaker works, and how the DLQ works. So first of all, like the AnyPoint MQ is not available in your trial account. You need to have a subscription, enterprise subscription. So if you have an enterprise subscription and you have license for AnyPoint MQ, then this is the option you will get for AnyPoint MQ. And this is the window where you can see your AnyPoint MQ. Here, now if I talk about the configuration for this, now this is my AnyPoint MQ configuration part, where I need to have a URL, client API ID, and client secret. Okay, so now how to get this URL, client API, and client secret? Okay, and before that, like the AnyPoint MQ might not be available in your palette. Like when you are going to search, and if you're going to search for your AnyPoint MQ connector, it may not be available. So you can search in your Exchange and you can download that. And these are the connectors options what you are getting for AnyPoint MQ. Okay. So now talking about the configuration, we need to have URL, client API ID, and secret, so that you can get it directly from your AnyPoint MQ palette, like this window. So you can decide your environment, which environment you want, like it may be dev, it might be QA, it might be UAT, it might be production, anyone. Now here you get the option of region. This is your geographical region, the warehouse which is near to your geographical region. So it's always suggested to check the nearest warehouse, the nearest region, so that the message of flow is quite fast. Okay, and this is the URL which we will required in our configuration for that particular geographical region. So if you'll see, now we need to provide a URL. I have defined it in my property files. So this URL talks about this geographical region URL which will be used, because my AnyPoint MQs are created in this particular geographical region. Now talking about the client ID and secret, for that you need to switch to this client app option. And here, by clicking on this option, you can create a client ID and secret. Like if you give a name, then it will generate a client ID and client secret, like I have done for this. So you can see like a client API ID and a client secret is created for me. So to configure this, I will need this client ID and secret in my Anypoint MQ, which I have configured here. So this is my property file and I have used this values over here. Okay. So now that
So,
will
Abhishek, a quick question. Sorry to interrupt you. My question is regarding the client app ID and secret. So, is it always the standard we have to create a separate for all the queues, or we can create one and we can use that?
you can create one and you can
One.
use that throughout.
Okay.
Like
So,
this.
what is the difference then if we create for each and all? Like, any recommendations here? What will be the
Uh,
approach?
See, if you are working for different projects, then it's a good approach to create different IDs for that one. Now, suppose I have queues for this particular reason, like
Yes,
these are my
region.
queues for this particular region, and for this my configuration is same because I am using in this same project. So I have created one API ID and secret, and I'm using that. If you are creating for some other projects and like the reason is different, then it is advised to create a separate one for that.
Yeah, Abhishek, that to make sense, right? Because obviously there is a dependency on the regions and all, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if we are in the one single region, then we can use a single client ID and secret ID.
Or like what I will suggest, like right now what is happening, like whatever client ID and client secret we will create it in MQ, right? You cannot
Mhm.
associate it with the queue, right? You are creating that client ID and client secret which can be used globally for any queue, right? But the
Correct.
best of generally what we do, right? Let's consider API example. Let
Mhm.
somebody want to consume the API. So what he will like, what that person will do basically, he will create his own client ID and the client secret basically, right? So like second consumer want to consume API, so he will have its own client ID and the client secret, right? So generally like it's a best practice, like you can have a client ID and client secret consumer wise basically, so that is that you can do basically. And now other it's also depend, like so like let's consider I have a customer XYZ. I have a customer PQR, right? These are the two customers, and they want to like connect to the queue basically, and publish or subscribe message from there basically, right? So generally, it is recommended like you can create a client ID and the client secret for both the consumer. Generally, let's consider. I will give a simple example, like you have account, right, and you create your own password, right? If somebody want to create account, he will create his own password, right? So generally it's a best practice to have a separate client ID and client secret for each and every consumer. So that will I follow.
Yeah.
It is not good, it is not good to share your client ID and the see. Let's consider if you want to block one client ID and the client secret, right, for one that particular consumer, you want to block that particular consumer. If you are deleting that client ID and client secret, and if there are 10 consumer are connecting to same client ID and client secret, all 10 will got blocked, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, Jackie, so the advisable thing I got from previous thing is creating a single client app for a single region. So
Okay.
the queues which is created under single region, we should have only single client app.
Yeah,
That is
that's
recommended. Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like, let a simple example.
Yeah.
If you have a 10 consumer, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm not saying like there are multiple recommend. It depend on project to project what sensitivity of security you want, right? It's
Okay.
completely depend on that thing. Generally, whatever Abhishek told, which is good, right? You create one
That
client
is
ID,
correct.
client secret for a reason. But if you want more secure, like if you have a more consumer, like if you have 10 consumer are publishing the message or subscribe the message from same queue, and you are share same client ID and client secret to all the
Mm-hmm.
consumer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like if you want to block one of the consumer, like how you will be blocked? If you are changing your client ID and client secret, it will impact all the
Exactly.
consumer, right?
Right. Right. Yes. 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 That is correct. Yes, understood.
Yeah.
So
So
there are
like
different teams, different groups are working. So we can create a separate client tabs for each teams and yeah, each
if you are
country.
using your MQ for internal purpose, then it's fine. Like you can
Yeah,
create a
single.
region wise, But if you are exposing the client, like your Anypoint MQ to the outsider, right?
Mm-hmm.
To outsider. In that case, I will prefer to use separate client ID and the client secret. If you want to block or if you want to disable the authentication or if you want to delete the client ID and client secret, right? You can easily do that. It will not impact the other client.
Yes,
Right?
yes, yes. That is correct.
Yeah, Abhishek, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. So now, as we have seen the configuration, like this is the way how we configure the anypoint time queue. Now first we'll go with the exchange, like how the exchange work. So to send the message in the exchange, like I'm publishing a message to exchange, so I will use the publish connector. Okay, so to create an exchange, we just need to go to this option and we need to choose exchange. So once we do that, we need to give a name to our exchange, and if the queues are already present, we can bind the queue automatically here itself. Okay, so I already have an exchange created. This is my exchange and I named it as exchange itself. Now no queues are bounded with my exchange. Okay, so even though if I publish message to exchange, it is not going to go anywhere. Okay, so now how the exchange work, as we said, like it works as like one to many. If I put any message into exchange, and all the queues which are bounded to this will receive the same message in those queues. So now suppose I'm binding this 3 queues to my exchange. Okay, I'll select it and I have binded it. Okay, that means if I will send a message to exchange, the same message will be routed to all these 3 queues. Okay, so I have a flow created for this. I'll just put in debug mode. So this is, I'm taking my HTTP listener, like I'm sending a message to this particular flow where I have a publish, which is connected to my exchange. This is my configuration for this. This is my exchange configuration. Now my message will go to this publish. I'm sending it to publish. I'm not sending it to any queue, but my exchange is banded to these different queues. So once I send the message to this, you'll see like I'm getting the same message from this 3 subscriber as well. Okay, so now this is deployed and I will send this message to my exchange. Now you see I have sent the message to exchange, but the same message I can get from all these 3 queues. That means I'm sending it to exchange, which is one message, but although the other queues are binded, I'm getting the same message at the same time to all these queues. So this is how your exchange work. And I have used subscriber. So what the subscriber do, it automatically triggers the flow and fetch the message what is present in that particular queue. Okay, this is what the subscriber also do. It automatically triggers the flow. You don't have to externally put anything to the subscriber or push the subscriber to get the message from the queue.
Yeah, like can anybody tell me what is the use case for this particular, like why we want to publish the message to exchange instead of publishing directly to the queue, basically?
Yeah, it's like a broadcasting one. So
Yeah, it's a multicasting or broadcasting, but what is the use case for that? Any real use case for that?
yes, in case the same message we want to publish to multiple queues. So instead of going individually sending, and we can go directly to.
But why we will going to publish to multiple queues, basically? Like, is there any use case?
Like newsletters or some event updates.
Yeah, you are right. So I will give an e-commerce example. So generally, when you do the order, basically, right? So like when you do the order, so that order has to send to multiple places, basically, right? Like you have to say send the order for, like, whatever order you send for payments, then you add the order into orders. Like orders CRM or something, like orders table or something like that. Then you also send this order to, like, to the warehouse also for shipping purpose, right? So, and also like there, like in e-commerce, you have to send your order to multiple places to fulfill it, right? In that case, you can publish the message to exchange, and from exchange that order can be distributed to multiple places, right? So in e-commerce it works very well, and there can be other examples also.
Abhishek, can you just show us the publisher over here? What is the configuration that you did in the publish?
Yeah, just I use the configuration for anypoint MQ and I have given the destination name, like my queue name, to which queue I want to publish it. This
Can
is
you
a
please go
sample.
back to the can you just go back to the Anypoint platform and show us the queue name? Is the queue name, because you bind 3 different queues, right? Is the queue name the same?
I will show you. See, this is my exchange one and I named it as exchange. This is my Q1, which is bounded to exchange, Q2 and Q3. So if I go to exchange and I see my these 3 queues are only binded to this. So in my flow also, I have got that same queue name.
Okay, so
Q1.
your destination is exchange in the publisher. Okay.
Correct. We
Okay.
call this publish because we are publishing the message into the queue. Okay, so it is named as publish connector.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to understand is in the publisher, you're not putting the queue name as what Jitendra said, you are putting the exchange name, right?
So exchange is also a type of queue, like the destination is exchange. Now suppose if I want to put it to some queue, now
Okay.
suppose I want to put it to directly to this exq1. Okay, not putting into exchange, I want to put it into exq1. If I write the name of exq1, it will go to that particular queue only.
No,
Okay.
I think Nikunj, your question is that like why we have used the to three listeners, right? So
Yeah,
that is your
yeah,
question.
yeah.
I will tell you,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
so like let consider like I already explained one use case just now, right? So like what happened? Like now I want to send that message to multiple places, to multiple receiver or to multiple consumer, basically, right? So like multiple consumer, like I want to send the message to like PQR, I want to send the message to XYZ destination or ABC destination, right? So for that, and I want to send the same message to everyone. So what I have done, so we have created the exchange. Like whenever we get a request, we publish the message to exchange. Now exchange will automatically take care to publish the message to all the three queues, basically, right? Now
Perfect.
now what happened here, he created three different flow, so it means it have a three different subscriber to queue, basically. So you cannot subscribe to exchange, I think you have to subscribe to queue, basically. So that's why we have a three flow. So these are the three different receiver, and they will read the message from, like, one receiver will read the message from q1, one receiver will be reading the message from mq2, one receiver will be read the message from mq2, and they will do their processing independently, basically.
Got it, got it. So is it like possible to bind the same queue with multiple exchange?
I think yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But only queues we can bind, right, Jackie? We cannot bind the FIFO queue.
I think yes.
Yes.
No, we
I
can.
never tried that.
Yeah,
I never
actually I
tried
tried
that.
it, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you have Abhi, if you have any FIFO queue created in RMQ,
Okay, no, yeah,
no,
I
right?
don't see that option. Yeah, correct.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Jackie, I have one question here. Like suppose we are sending three messages, okay, to three different queue, and if one of the queue is down or anything like that, in that case, how will it work?
I think you have something called retry, right? Like Abhishek, right? There's a retry logic on exchange, right?
See, yeah, like it
They will keep
goes
the message in flight, I think,
in
right?
flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will keep on checking like whether the connection is proper or not. If not, like it will keep on changing it to in queue to in flight. When it is in flight, that means it is trying to send it to process. Okay, if it is
Mhm.
not processing, it will throw the message back into in queue. It will wait for some time, and then again it will try to process, and the
Yeah.
message will show into in flight.
Annapurna, like first thing I will tell you,
Yes.
like I don't think like queue will go down here, basically, right? So
Okay.
I don't think like yeah. In case if you delete the queue, then you cannot do anything, basically, right? That's a
Mhm.
different thing. If you are unbind the queue, like then you cannot do anything. Like you have unbind from the exchange. Then, but I don't think the queue will go down here. Basically, queue never goes down, right,
Okay.
Abhishek?
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it won't go down.
Yeah, it won't go down, but in worst case, if it does, then we have the functionality of acknowledgement, correct? Where
Mhm.
whether it is a positive or negative acknowledgement, it keeps on the message into in flight and keeps on processing. It will not lose your message
Okay.
until unless like you change the acknowledgement strategy, and I will come to that part as well. Okay.
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 Jackie's already said because the queues in one region, right? So queue exchange will be in one region. If anything fails,
Correct.
ultimately the exchange will be failed then.
Exchange will fail, yeah,
Correct.
because
Yeah.
in order to process, like I already said, like it should be in same reason. It is not like you're exchanging one reason and then you are making a queue in another reason. That is not going to work because your configuration matters.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So that about exchange. And about subscriber, if I give some details, like there might be questions why we have got subscriber and why we have got consume, like what are the difference. So I will show you that as well. So the subscriber always act as a listener. We always put this at as a source of the flow. It cannot be anywhere in the process. Okay. In subscriber we have got two different mode. One is the prefetch mode and one is the polling. So prefetch means like it's keep on going to, like it's keep on fetching the message from the queue. Okay, like as soon as you put the message, it will take the message and it will process. So if you are keep on putting a lot of message in the queue, it will keep on processing that one. Okay, like the maximum local message, like the maximum message which is stored for a time, like it's 30. Once it prefetch the message from the flow, it will process that, then again it will prefetch. Okay, now if I change it to polling, that means I'm giving some frequency. Okay, like I don't want the message to flow every time. I want like it will take the message from the queue, it will wait for 30 seconds, then again it will do, like how we do for scheduling. Okay, we schedule something for after 5 minutes or after 30 minutes, something like that. So this is like what the functionality we get it directly from the subscriber, where we can poll it. Okay, either poll it or prefetch it. So this is what the functionality of subscriber. Now going to consume. Now consume also do the same thing, it also pull the message from the queue. But why we have two different optional, like one is subscribe or one is consume. So consume is something which can be there only in your process part, it cannot be your listener. Okay, and we can consume the message on demand. Now suppose I have a scenario where I need to fetch a message from a queue, but I don't want it every time. I have created a flow and my consume is in my subflow or private flow. So when I trigger that subflow or private flow, then only I should get a message. Okay, one by one. So in that case, we use consume. Okay. Hello. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So now I will show you how it works. Okay. Now by default, if you see the consume one, if you see this consume connector, I can give a queue name to this, my consume, and this is empty. My polling timeout is empty and my acknowledged timeout is empty. Okay. I will remove this. I'll put this back. Okay. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind when you are using a consume is regarding the polling time, and I will show you why it is important. Now, I will put it in my debug mode. I just stopped it. I will enable this. Okay. Now again, this is a normal standard queue which I have used for this. I have a queue name consume MQ which I am using. Okay. Now I don't have any message in my MQ, in my consume MQ. Okay. I don't have any message. Nothing is there. And I have used the default configuration which I am getting from my palette. So if now I execute this, okay, so can anyone tell me like what will happen when I'm not doing any particular configuration for this and there is no message? So will it process or will it give me any error?
Process.
It will process.
Okay, let's see.
Think you didn't give any breakpoint.
No, that's fine. I will show you. So I have given the scheduler some timing. Okay, I have given it 30 seconds. So it will try to fetch. Now see, there is no message, nothing I have given. I got an error. Okay. See, failed to retrieve a message, did not receive any message during polling interval of 10,000 millisecond. That is 10 seconds. Now I have not configured anything from my consumer. Okay, I have not configured anything, but by default, it takes the polling time as 10 seconds. And this polling time doesn't mean like how we schedule. No, after scheduler, even though I'm triggering, my queue is waiting for 10 seconds to fetch the message from the queue. Okay, and as it is not getting any message, it throw me an error saying that there is no message. Okay, so now how to handle that? Because if I'm configuring this, it is possible like the consume queue don't have message every time. It may be there, it may not be there. Correct. So to handle this, what we need to do is we need to set the polling time as 0. Now once we set the polling time as 0, okay, what will happen is now I will not get an error from my consume. It will simply show me like the consume is null, there is no message in that. Okay, and this is how we handle the error for this one, like if there is no message. And wait, I will show you this.
Abhishek, could you please explain a bit if we have a 10 second in the with the 0 second, what is the difference it will make?
Yeah, that only I'm showing you. Now see, this time I didn't got any error. Simply the consumer is saying me, okay, there is no message. The message is null. Okay, so now the difference is when I put the polling time is 0, it doesn't try to fetch anything, like it doesn't push the consume to fetch anything from the queue. If the message is there, then it will process. If the message is not there, then it will simply send me, okay, there is no message and it is null. But if I put any timing over here, then it tries to fetch something. Okay, it bound the consume to fetch something, and when it doesn't get anything, it throws an error saying like, okay, there is no message.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the difference between putting it to 0 and putting it some value over there. And
Right.
this is how the consume and subscriber work. Like the subscriber automatically get triggered, but the consume we need to trigger it, okay, in order to get the message on demand.
Right. Right. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now about FIFO queue and standard queue, the difference. So the difference between FIFO queue and standard queue is the FIFO queue store the message in sequence. Like if I'm sending some message in a sequence, okay, FIFO queue will retrieve the message in that same sequence. But if I go with the standard queue, now even though I'm sending a message in a sequence, it is not going to show that up message me up in a sequence. It can show me anything randomly. Okay, so now like I will go to my FIFO queue and I will send some message to it. Okay, now ID 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is the message I have sent to my FIFO queue. The same message I will try to send to my standard queue. Like I'm storing the message. Okay, my API is not working now. I'm just storing the message now. This is my standard queue. Four. Okay, so I'll just give some time. Now first we'll check for the FIFO queue and we'll try to retrieve the message from this. So to retrieve, we have the optional functionality over here, like go to message browser and you can get the message from here. Like you can see what all messages are there in the queues. Okay, and when I retrieve this, see, I will see the payload in an order, the sequence in which I have stored the message in the queue, and the timing as well, like at what timing I have stored the message. Okay, this is showing me in a sequence. I will return the message back to the queue. Now we'll see the same thing for standard queue, like how we can retrieve the message over here. So same, I will go to my message browser again. Okay, this is still okay. Return the queue. Now I'll go to standard queue and I will retrieve the message over here. Now see, it is not giving me in a sequence. I have stored the ID 1 first, then 2, then 3, then 4. But when I am retrieving, it randomly picking up the message and it is taking little time to pick that up. Okay, so this is what the difference between a FIFO and standard queue. Like as the name suggests, first in, first out. Okay, so it work like that. It work in a sequence. Now if you want to delete, now see, it is in flight. That means it is trying to process that one. It is not getting any connectivity, so it is not processing, but it is in flight. But still, if I want to delete that, I can purge the message from here. I can delete it from here on demand. Okay, now it will come to 0. Same I can do for this. I can purge the message.
What is the reason why it did not came in queue? Why they're in flight still?
In flight means it is still trying to process that one. It is trying to get the connectivity and it is trying to process. It will try for few time, for some time. If it is not getting connection, it will come back to the in queue. Then again, it will retry. Okay, it works automatically into in flight and in queue.
Okay.
Okay, One more thing regarding creating an endpoint MQ is some configurations. Okay, so when you create a queue, you get a default configuration like the message TTL for 7 days and a default acknowledgement time for 2 minutes. So what this TTL means, now suppose you have stored a message in your queue which is untouched. There is no subscriber or consume that message in the flow. So by default, it will keep the message in the queue for 7 days, and then after that, it will automatically delete that one. Okay. Now you can also increase it. Like if you want to keep it for some seconds, or if you want to keep it for hours, for days, you can you can change these values. But by default, you get that. Acknowledgement timeout means to get the acknowledgement from the flow whether it is a success or it's a failure. Okay. So it will wait for 2 minutes for the acknowledgement whether you are getting it or not. Okay. And depending on the mode, it will decide like whether to keep that one or to discard the message from the queue.
Okay.
Okay.
Mode means like so if we didn't return the message till 2 minutes, so
Mhm.
then acknowledgement didn't receive, then what will happen to that
Then
particular message?
it will try to like put it in flight and try to reprocess.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So we have two places we are configuring it, acknowledgement time in queue and whereas in the connector level. So what is the
It's your
difference?
choice. Like either you can do it in queue or you can do it in your in your anypoint platform one.
Right. Right. Right.
Okay. Anywhere you can do that.
Yeah,
So,
Abhishek.
Abhishek,
Yeah.
go ahead, Vikas.
Yeah. Okay. So one question that is related to subscriber and consumer. So in both the cases, we are using poll. So how it is different then?
No, I said like in subscriber, it's we have an option. Okay. Now see, in subscriber, the subscriber is a source, is a listener. Okay. Now you can either use a prefetch part or you can use a polling if you wish. If you wish like that I don't want to get the message every time. Like as I got the message in my queue and I don't want to fetch that, then I can use polling in that case. Now in subscriber, sorry, in consume, what happened? In consume, either you can have a scheduler or you can use it in your private flow or subflow to trigger it on demand. Like if I don't want to put a polling, I can remove this. I can have a parent flow. That parent flow is calling my this private flow. And when this private flow is called, my consume is getting triggered and I can use that. That is on demand. Like whenever I want to fetch on demand from a queue, then I'm using a consume connector over there to fetch it one by one from the queue on demand. When my parent flow is triggering my subflow or private flow to get the message from the queue. For subscriber, it is like it is only the source of that flow. Okay, it is only triggering the flow. Like it only decide when the flow should start. So that's the difference between a subscriber and a consume.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. Now talking about ACNAC. So ACK means positive acknowledgement, NAC means negative acknowledgement. Now suppose I am processing a message and the message went well to the flow. So I will provide a positive feedback to my queue. Okay, it is fine. The process has been done successfully. You can delete the message from a queue. But if I receive any error, so I will send a negative acknowledgement to my queue saying that, okay, the flow is not succeeded. You need to keep the message in your queue and you need to keep on processing that again and again. Like you need to change it from in queue to in flight. Okay. So to use ACK or NAC, you need to do some changes in your subscriber. Okay, the changes is with this acknowledgement mode. Okay, so we get three different mode for subscriber. By default we get it auto. When we like use the auto mode, then we don't need to use this connector explicitly like ACK or NAC. It automatically sense whether the flow is a success or it's a failure. Okay, so if it sends like it's a success, then it deletes the message from the queue. If it sends okay there is a failure, then it automatically put the message in the queue in flight and try to reprocess. Okay, that's what auto do. Immediate means it doesn't care whether it is a success or failure. As soon as the message is flown from the subscriber, it goes to the flow. Now, whether it is a success or failure, it will delete the message from the queue. Okay. Immediate, what it does, it immediately send a message to the queue that, okay, the message has been flown to the flow. Okay. It doesn't wait to check whether it is a positive feedback or negative. It just simply delete the message from the queue. Okay. Now, in order to use ACK or NACK explicitly, you need to change it to manual. Okay. And why we need to do is, when we do it manual, then we get an attribute called ACK token, which we need to use to our ACK and NACK in order to send a manual acknowledgement to our queue saying that it is a positive feedback or negative feedback. Okay. Now I'll show you this as well. So I have used two different queues, two different parent queue. One is ACK MQ and another one is NACK MQ. This is my parent. This is my standard queues which I have used, which you can find over here. This is my ACK queue.
Abhishek,
Yeah.
sorry to disturb. This is Karthik. I have
Yeah.
one doubt. So
Mhm.
consider there's a queue is a problem or connectivity problem occurred. So
Mhm.
that time I am using the NAC. So
Mhm.
consider last 1 hour or one day the
Mhm.
problem is still exist in the end. So
Mhm.
continuously it will retrigger it, or what will happen?
See, now in this case, again, you need to put a logic like either you put a circuit breaker or you put a dead letter queue. That's what functionality come over here. Okay, because now suppose you have just figured it out like, okay, there is a you put it acknowledgement on ACK on NAC in your flow, and continuously you are getting for any XYZ issue. So if you will not handle that, it will keep on processing and processing. So in that case, either you can put a circuit breaker to hold it up for some time and keep on checking, or you can put a dead letter queue. So the dead letter will queue will try for some time, like a particular threshold it will try, and still if you are getting the error, it will automatically go to your dead letter queue. So in that way you can handle that.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And another
And
question. Sorry
yeah.
to disturb. Another question.
Yeah.
So in that retry process for the NAC, how to
Mhm.
configure for the retry processing? That means in the limitation, like only try for 5 minutes or only 5 times, something like that. How can we configure that?
Yeah, I will show you that.
Okay, thanks.
I will show you like what happens if we get any uh, error, and we have got a circuit breaker or a DLQ, then how that works. I will show you that. Okay. Okay, so my flow is working. Now I will put some message to my, first I will put it to my ACK. Okay, which is giving a positive acknowledgement saying that, okay, it is working fine. Okay, I'll send the message. See, as soon as I send the message, okay, you can see over here, it has been consumed. Now I'll go back to my queue and I will see whether there is any message or not. See, there is no message. That means it is working fine. I got a positive acknowledgement and there is no message. It has been deleted because it has been consumed perfectly. Now I will change, I will use NAC where I am going to get error. See, I got the error. It went to NAC. Again, it is trying. Okay. Now if I'll go to my NAC and I will see my message will be there in my in-flight mode. That means it is trying to process it. Okay. So if I'll keep on doing it, it will try to keep on processing it. Okay. So I need to handle this. Okay. Because if I don't handle this, it will keep on trying to process that one. Okay. So now in this case, now first I will explain you how the circuit breaker works. Okay. And then I'll explain you how the DLQ works. So I'll remove this message, otherwise it will keep on processing. Okay. Now come into picture is circuit breaker. Now, first of all, how we do the configuration for this. So this is my circuit breaker window. Now, how to configure this is we need to give a error type. What this mean is, now suppose I am trying to process a message where I have a HTTP connector. Okay, and that HTTP connector is giving me a HTTP connectivity error again and again. Okay, so I can define it like I want to have a circuit breaker only for the connectivity, so I can define that. If I don't define that, then whatever error I'm getting it from my flow, it will handle everything. Okay, the circuit breaker will work for everything. Okay, error threshold, that means now I'm sending the message and for 2 times I am getting HTTP connectivity error. Okay, so it will sense it. Okay, 2 times I got it, now I need to open the circuit breaker. Okay, it will only try for 2 times, then it will keep the message in hold for 30 seconds. Okay, this is my trip timeout. That means holding the message, the circuit breaker is open for 30 seconds. Okay, how to configure it is, again in your subscriber, just go to your advanced. In this circuit breaker one, you get option like either you want to make it, you don't want to use any circuit breaker inside the subscriber only, you want to do it, or you want to take a global reference. Okay, so as I have defined my circuit breaker as a global configuration, so I'm putting it as global and I'm using that circuit breaker reference. Okay, now let us see how it works. So the queue which I'm using is circuit MQ. Okay, so I will put a message in this. I'll put a message in this. I'll send. Okay, my flow is triggering to a requester which is not present. Okay, so I'm going to get HTTP requester error. Sorry, HTTP connectivity error. Okay, this is the first time it tried, it got error. This is the second time it tried. Okay, now see, it tried for 2 times and now the circuit breaker is open. It will wait for 30 seconds. Okay, until the message is processed again. Okay, now this is an open state. So now we have discussed like circuit breaker has got 3 different states. One is closed, one is open, and one is half open. So first time when I tried, my circuit breaker was closed because it was trying for the first time. Now my circuit breaker is open and it will wait for 30 seconds until it will try for the next attempt. Okay, now it tried for the next attempt, it tried for second time, so it will try for once. Okay, it will not try for 2 times, it will try for once. That means it is half open. Half open means what my circuit breaker do, it attempts for one time and check whether the error has been disappeared or it is still exist. Okay, so it tried for one time, it checked, okay, it is still existing. Okay, now again it will wait for 30 seconds and again it will give a retry after 30 seconds for one time and it will check whether that is rectified or not. Okay, so this is how the circuit breaker works. Like first it is closed. Okay, then when it gets any particular error, it it opens. Okay, it tries after 30 minutes, sorry, 30 seconds or the time frame which I have given. Then it tries for one attempt and see whether that error has been like solved or not. If not, then again it will go on hold for 30 seconds. Now see, it came into in queue automatically. That means it has put that on hold and it is not trying. Okay, so that's how the circuit breaker works, like how it is effective when you are getting some error and how you can set it up. Okay, now we'll discuss like the last
Sorry,
point.
Abhishek. Sorry,
Yeah,
Abhishek. Again, this is Karthik.
yeah.
So what you're trying to say is, the circuit breaker will check that error is resolved or not. Then only it will process the queue. Otherwise, it will still in hold. It will.
Yes, correct. It
Okay.
will check whether the error has been rectified or not. If not, again it will put the message on hold for some time, like the time which we have defined, like for how many times, for how much time we need to keep it on hold. Correct. And then again it will retry for once. Okay, and check whether it is open or close. Okay, so we have 3 state: close, open, half open. Close when the queue is working normally, open when it keeps it on hold, and half open when it gives a one attempt and check whether the error is rectified or not. If not, again it will go on open state. Okay, now the last part is the DLQ. Okay, So how to configure a DLQ? Now DLQ is not a separate entity. It is a normal queue, like the standard queue, like the parent queue. Okay. So how we configure that is, now suppose this is my parent queue. This is my demo MQ is a parent queue. Okay. Meanwhile, I'll just start this. So this is my parent queue. So to configure a DLQ, we have an option in every queue, which is assign a dead letter queue. Okay. Now, when I enable this, it gives me option like to which queue I want to make as my dead letter queue. Okay. So I have created a separate queue name as demo DLQ, and I have assigned that. Now, delivery attempts before readout. What this means is how many times my subscriber should try to process that message to my flow until it is getting an error. Okay, now suppose my message is flowing to the flow. I got an error. Okay, so it will try for one time. It will try to process. No, again it is giving error. It will try for second time. Okay, again it is giving error. So the third time what it will do, it will not process. It will directly put the message to my dead letter queue. Okay, so here what the functionality of dead letter queue. Now if you'll see, I don't have any message in my demo queue, nor I have any message in my dead letter queue. I have nothing. Okay, there is no message. My API is deployed. Okay, now I'll put a message in my demo MQ. Okay, I'll put a JSON message and I will simply put test DLQ and I will send it. Okay, the first time it got the error. The second time it tried. Okay, now it will not try further. What it will do is, now if I'll go back and if I'll see my queue and dead letter queue, I'll get the message in my dead letter queue. Okay, now there is no message in my DM queue, but I have a message in my dead letter queue because I got this message from my flow where it was unable to process that, and if I fetch it, I'll get the same message which I was sending to my demo MQ. Okay, just because the dead letter queue is associated with that, on failure automatically I got the message in my dead letter queue. Okay, and this is how the dead letter queue works. Now you might find, like I have found in many projects, what they do is they put a publisher over here, they name it as error, they name it as dead letter queue. Okay, so they're manually processing that. So now this is not this is not dead letter queue. This is simply a error queue which you have created to process the error message manually. Okay, so we cannot say it as a dead letter queue. Dead letter queue is a inbound functionality of a MQ. Okay, to get attached with that. Okay, so this is all about like different between like exchange, subscriber, consume, publish, how the dead letter queue works and how the circuit breaker works.
Abhishek, one quick
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
regarding the circuit breaker. You mentioned three different states, right? Like open,
Mhm.
half open, and closed. So, do we need to configure that manually, or it will do it according to the scenario it works?
It works accordingly. Now I just need to configure my circuit breaker. I just need to configure, like I need to decide whether I need to do it for a particular error or I need to do it for all. So when I'm not defining anything, that means I'm doing it for all. If I defined, now suppose HTTP connectivity, so this circuit breaker will work only for that particular error. It will not work if I'm going to get any other error. Then I will decide a threshold, like if I'm getting that HTTP connectivity error for 2 times. Okay, after that only my circuit breaker will open and I need to decide for how much time I need to keep that on hold. I have decided for 30 seconds. So my circuit breaker was open for 30 seconds, and then it had a attempt for once, which is known as half open. It tried once, it got error, then again it went for a open state. Okay, now that time it haven't tried for twice, it tried for once because it was just checking whether that error has been rectified or not.
Uh,
So,
so,
Thank
so
you.
during that trip time, it will not process any other message as well, like that is coming after the error, that particular message which we are receiving. Correct?
No, see, now my queue will have a bunch of messages, correct?
Yes.
It will have a, so it is trying with any one of the messages. It is not like that particular message only. It just want like the connectivity should be there. We should get the connectivity. That's the main approach over here. If we are getting the connectivity, then the circuit breaker will close and all the message will be processed. Okay.
Sorry, you're saying rest of the message. If we are getting error, any connectivity error, any error in some particular message, so
It is not
other
about
message
no no
will
no.
be
It is
processed. Or?
not about message. The connectivity error you will get on that connection.
Yeah.
Now
Okay.
see, if you are getting bad request, that is another thing.
Mhm.
That message is wrong. Now you are not going to put a circuit breaker for HTTP bad request. Now if a request is bad, you cannot help that. But connectivity is something which is not in your hand. Like it can be due to any reasons, like connectivity issue or server breakdown. Anything can be there.
Yes, yes.
Now
So
your
yes,
API was working fine. Suddenly you got a connectivity error. Now that server need to be fixed. Correct.
yes,
In
yes.
that case, we will use it.
Santosh, if you are putting the circuit breaker pattern for bad request, right, your circuit will never close. It will keep open only.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
okay,
even
so if we are implementing both DLQ and circuit breaker in same approach, so what will happen?
See,
you can, I guess.
because like in circuit breaker, what will happen once your circuit is open, right? It will not going to process the message from queue basically. It will stop processing message from the queue till it again closed basically, right, Abhishek? So that is
Yes.
that is what happened in the circuit breaker pattern. In case of dead letter queue, like you are implementing your persistent delivery or like reliability pattern basically. Like you basically with dead letter queue, he will not going to lose any messages basically, right?
Yes, yes. So like what I'm saying, we defined a dead letter queue for 2 tries. Okay, so in the same time we are defining this circuit breaker
Hi
also.
You
Abhishek,
can do
Soumya
that.
this side.
Santosh, you can do that. Basically, let consider you can do both, but let circuit breaker pattern works for some kind of error, basically, right?
Okay,
Like
that
HTTP,
particular errors,
you
yes.
can do like in case like if you have a bad message or if you have any other kind of error, right? You don't want to lose the message. At least you want to like you want to see the message, like in future also. Basically, in that case, you can also implement dead letter queue.
Yes, yes. Actually, when
Yeah.
it was trying twice, it will once the
Hi
second try is
Abhishek, Soumya
completes,
this
it will
side.
move to in queue
Can
state.
you show how you have
So
configured dead letter queue?
Yeah, yeah. I will show. But someone was asking some question in between.
yeah, so first it will try, it will move to in-flight mode. Then second try again, it will go to in queue. Then only it goes to in-flight. So 2 times it's doing the same thing. If we define the dead letter queue for 2 attempts, it will automatically move to DLQ, right? So that time
Don't like
circuit
No,
breaker.
no. When we define a DLQ, we also define some configuration. See, I will show you again. So now when I'm defining a DLQ to this, I'm also defining an attempt to this.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I have defined like 2 attempts. So it will try to process 2 times. Again, after 2 times it is getting error, it will fetch it to the DLQ. Correct. It will
Yes,
bring
yes, yes.
bring the message to DLQ and the flow will stop. The flow will not try to fetch that message again because that message went from the parent queue to the DL queue. Now that message is not present in the parent queue. But when we are using circuit breaker, that message is still there in the parent queue and it is trying to keep on processing that one until and unless that error is not resolved.
Yes, that's
Okay.
what we implement both the things for the same queue. I was saying both
No,
circuit
see,
breaker and DLQ. So circuit breaker
no.
after 2 times it will try now, but it won't be present in the parent queue itself. If we define the DLQ, it went to DLQ. So there is no
No,
message itself.
Santosh, can I add something over here? Okay, so let's take two concepts now. As what Abhishek said, right? One is a circuit breaker, another is a DLQ concept. Now let's divide these concepts, right? So basically, circuit breaker is a concept that you use not for the error from the messaging perspective. Say for example, if your flow has many more connections connecting to the DB, to the HTTP client, okay? In this scenario, if your database connection is down, if your HTTP connection is down, you will implement circuit breaker. That means it will not process any of the messages from the queue. Your flow will be completely down unless you fix your connections, as what Abhishek said. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So if you want to handle this kind of scenarios, you will use circuit breaker. Clear? Now, say for example, if you want to handle the exceptions at the message level, okay. See for example, the message itself is wrong. Just giving you a vague example. Then how
Yes.
you will do it? I want to. If I have 100 messages, if my one message is wrong, it doesn't mean I will not process my 99 messages, right? I will process that. So how will I handle this one message? So what I will do is I will pick up this one dirty message and put it into the DL queue. Simple as that. Yeah, no, that is what we can say. Circuit breaker can handle the exception at the flow level, and in using the DL queue, you can handle the exception at the message level. Correct?
Santosh, a simple thing like it's not recommended to always use a circuit breaker pattern, right? If you see if your backend system is bit unstable, right? In that case, you can use the circuit breaker pattern basically, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
otherwise,
yes.
like you can avoid using this basically. You can use dead letter queue basically, right?
Yes, actually. Yeah, sure.
I think by using the circuit breaker, we don't need to do any manual reprocessing, right? So you have to be smart enough. You have to check what is your requirement. If let's suppose you get a intermediate issue, so you don't want to need that particular for a 5 minute, 10 minutes, you have to put into your dead letter queue and then reprocess it again. Then it's a manual effort to involve that, right? So just to avoid that part, you go with the circuit breaker, and it will make your life easy, and your flow will be perfectly fine.
Correct. They depend on situation, and also I mentioned like if sometime what happens like in year your system is just down for 10 minutes in once in a year basically, then it's fine. Like if your system is continuously going down, it's unstable, right? In that case, I will recommend it to use the circuit breaker pattern. So in that case, you don't have to worry about message processing and all those kind of things. Your message will also not lost. Okay. Yeah, Abhishek, anything else like
Yeah, Soumya was asking just last thing. Soumya was asking the configuration for DLQ. So Soumya, see how it is done is now the DLQ is just a standard queue. It is not something extra. Okay, it's a standard queue. So you can make a standard queue as DLQ. First of all, you need to define which queue you want to make. Like you give a name to that. Okay, so simply create, give a name and create. Do nothing over here. Now, once that is done, now you want to assign your parent queue as your DLQ. Okay, with your DLQ, sorry. Then what you can do is when you are creating a queue, okay, give your name over here like demo, and here itself you get the option to assign a dead letter queue. So you can click on this. You can choose the DLQ which you have you wish to make as, and then you can give the attempts you want, and you can create the queue. Okay, or if you want to do it later, then simply like again in this settings you get the option, you just enable this, you select your queue which you want to make as dead letter queue, and you do the configuration and save change. So that is how you will like configure your dead letter queue.
Okay. Thank you, Vishal.
Yeah, Abhishek. So
Yeah.
DLQ works the same purpose that we have in our like that we set up the error queue in our error handling part.
Correct. Yeah. But the thing difference is DLQ automatically works, automatically it fetches the message. But when you set a error queue, you are manually doing that. You are manually putting a publisher and you are doing that.
Yes.
Okay. So
Jackie and Abhishek, one more quick question. Let's suppose we'll implement circuit breaker and dead letter queue in one go only. So what will be the priority they will take? Let's suppose we just put the connectivity related error to the circuit breaker and rest of for the dead letter queue. What is the priority they will take? They will check the connectivity first and then go to the attempts for the dead letter queue. How's it? How it
see
will be?
now that again depends on how you configure that. Like see seriously, I have not tried that, but now suppose yeah.
okay, so let's consider like we have some kind of threshold, right?
Yeah.
For circuit breaker to get open basically, right? So like next, like if you have in 30 seconds, if some message is failing, right, till 30 seconds, or like we have some kind of threshold, right? So before threshold, like what will happen to those messages basically? Before the threshold, you will lose those messages, right? Before the circuit get open, you will lose those messages, correct? Because or who asked me that question, right? So like your circuit breaker is still closed, and like you have set up some kind of threshold basically, like after few, like you set up some kind of threshold time, right? Or error count basically. After 5 error, I need to open the circuit breaker. So before that, your some message got error out, right? So
Correct.
those I want to like make sure that those messages get persisted, right? And
Mhm.
those I can retrieve those messages later, right? In that case, you
Right.
can also use the dead letter queue. So you can ensure that before the circuit open, right, you can route the error message to a dead letter queue.
Right. And let's suppose we have error threshold is 1 only, as in when we get the error. So I'm saying what is the priority will be. Like if we have a 1 here, we can put a 1 threshold here. The priority will be they will check for the connectivity types first, or then
It depends like what kind of error you have defined on the circuit breaker. There is a no priority, right? It depends. It's a logic, like you can think on that. It's kind of logic basically. There is a no priority. Like here we it doesn't mean like DLQ will run first or circuit breaker will run first. It depends how you have implemented. Let's consider if you have if you have set up the threshold 2 basically, right, on circuit breaker pattern, and for HTTP timeout basically, right? In that case, what will happen? So it will send the message and like it get error out. It get error out for 2 times, right? It will retry for 2 times and it will send the message to dead letter queue basically, right? So like it already 2 attempt has been done basically, right? Your circuit breaker will open now basically, correct? So after that, what will happen? Like you need to be smart, like I will in that case I will just keep the dead letter queue try for 1 time basically, not for 2 times basically, right? It will create issues basically. Let's consider if 2 messages got error out, then the dead letter will try to retry for 2 times basically, right? And there might be chances you may lose some messages basically. So you need to be enough smart, and you like depending on like your requirement, you need to set up how many retry you want, and whether like it depends completely. Like there is a no priority, like Toga, I will say.
But Jackie, how will we lose the message if we have the circuit breaker? Like the message should be still there, right? So
no, see, for circuit breaker we have an error threshold basically, right?
Correct.
So like so whatever, if it doesn't reach the threshold and the message is getting error out, right, those messages will lost, right? So like circuit breaker will not going to send those messages to queue again, correct? If you are not defining any kind of DLQ logic or any kind of logic where you have to ensure the persistent delivery, correct? But when circuit breaker is open, right, in that case it will not read the message from queue till the circuit breaker close again basically. You got my point, right?
Bit confused with the message loss.
Jackie, the confusion is when exactly people when does the flow go to the any point empty to fetch a record, process it, when it fails, when does it go back to the queue, and when does it go to the DLQ, right? So, and circuit breaker is in between there. Basically, it will be at the processing level to want to segregate that section.
Yeah, simple example, like what happened, let's consider I read the message, okay, from the queue, and that message I'm trying to send on HTTP requester, and it got failed, right? The circuit is still open here, it's still closed basically. In that case, that message will be lost, right? So because it got error out, and this will be lost because we haven't reached to the error threshold which is defined on the circuit breaker. Now second message come, right? Like again it got failed. So threshold is 5 basically. So we have lost that message. Again, third message come, we got error. Fourth message come, we got error. Fifth message we got error. So like after getting the fifth message, right, the circuit will like open basically, correct? The circuit will get open and it will not pick the message from the queue basically. In that case, the previous 5 message has been lost basically, right? Because we haven't defined any kind of logic where we can have a reliability or persistent delivery or guaranteed delivery.
Correct.
In that case, right? In that case, what you can do, you can make it of DLQ, like before, like DLQ also, dead letter queue. You can ensure that. So before the circuit breaker get open, the whatever message lost, they can go to the DLQ basically.
And Jackie, to add to that, you will have to configure your error handling accordingly, right?
Correct.
So just understand that when you receive a message, when you're subscribing or consuming, right? If the flow, that particular flow sends on error, is using on error propagate anywhere, right? That means then that message will be thrown back to the queue. And if you are using on error continue, that means after some time, even if the flow fails somewhere, but this flow is not sending that message back to the queue because the flow eventually has succeeded, right? So this error handling is very crucial here while using AnyPoint MQ. And there is a difference between normal data queue, error queue, and DL queue. Error queue normally, I know this terminology is confusing, but DL queue is something where the data resides when the whole processing logic has stopped, your whole processing strategy has exhausted, and you just want to store that data somewhere where you want to, if by any other process you want to read that data or process that data manually or whatever you want to do with it, right? So don't get confused with these three things.
Yeah, and one more point, like when you are using a dead letter queue or a error queue. So if you are using error queue, then you need to change your acknowledgement mode as immediate. Otherwise, what will happen? It will keep on pushing the message to error queue as well, and it will keep on trying to process the same thing.
Yes.
That is
But
also
that can be saved if you already have configured a DL queue and you have defined
yeah.
it.
If you are using DLQ, then you don't need to
Correct.
think about the mod.
Otherwise it will become a vicious loop and it will do that same.
Keep on doing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think thanks everyone for the inputs. I hope I don't know. Your name is Togo, right? Or some because display
Yeah.
Togo here. So
Okay,
please
Jackie,
don't mind.
this is Gajanand. Okay.
Yeah, Gajan. So
Okay,
I hope
so-
this clear your doubt, right? When you
Yeah,
can use the
Yeah, I got the concept. The only thing is, Jackie, let's suppose the threshold is only one. I want immediate, like the circuit should be open.
So do you think is this a good practice to open the circuit breaker immediately? It's not a good practice, right?
Correct.
It's-
Just to understand the concept is like we have some sort of sorted errors, like just for connectivity error.
So
if the connectivity error will come, only then the circuit breaker will.
It depends. I'm not saying only connectivity error. Like you have an option to depend on what kind of error you need to open the circuit breaker, right? So we
Right,
have
right.
that option on the configuration. So,
You can have all, or you can have multiple, like comma separated. You can define it over there.
Exactly. I'm just giving a scenario where, like, we just try to understand my knowledge. Like, let's suppose we just focus on connectivity only for the circuit breaker, right? And rest for we will have the dead letter queue. If any others error will come, we'll play with the dead letter queue. Is that
Correct.
fine?
Yeah. See, if I have defined only
yeah.
for connectivity, then only for connectivity the circuit breaker will work. For other error, the DLQ will work. But when
Perfect.
it is coming to connectivity, now I have defined a threshold for my dead letter queue as well, and I have defined it for my circuit breaker.
Correct.
So the circuit breaker is trying to process, and then it is closing that. It is not giving the opportunity for the message to process. Correct.
Yeah. Here is the complexity.
So here
yeah.
is correct. Then the dead letter queue, it is not allowing the dead letter queue to try it twice,
Correct.
because
correct.
it is handling itself.
Yeah.
So the
yeah.
dead letter queue is not applying that like functionality. So it will not go to DLQ. Like circuit breaker itself will stop that part. It will
Correct.
keep it on hold because that is not processing. Correct.
So
Yeah.
only, you are right, Abhishek. And only thing is that, like as Abhishek mentioned, like if you want to save the message for other kind of error, you can use dead letter queue. And even like if you want to make sure like the message get persisted before the circuit get open, basically, right? In that case, also you can use the dead letter queue. I
Yeah,
hope is this clear a doubt?
Yeah.
I think
Now
we
I
are
got
running
it.
late.
Now I got it. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Abhishek. Yeah.
Thanks, Siva, for your inputs also. Thank you. So Nitish, Abhishek, is anything else remaining?
No, all good from my end.
Yeah, I will just stop the recording also. Nitish, you can